Welcome to CIT 225 week 6. Hope everyone's doing well. I've got a lot of emails from you guys, a lot of questions being asked, and I appreciate that. I also have been getting a lot of feedback on the final exam, the final project. So keep that coming in. It's right around now, so you need to make the decision whether you're going to do it or not, so you can start getting the work done. Today we're talking about insert updates and deletes. I'm going to show you some tricks and show you some other commands for the insert, update, and delete tables. Commands for the DML. So DML, there's two basic things. There's more of them, but we're going to talk about two of them. Up to this point, we're talking about DDL, which is data definition language. Those are your create your statements that create, update. Create tables, modify tables, and drop tables. Those are your DDL commands. DML command, that's data definition language. DML commands are DML stands for data manipulation language. These are the commands that are going to modify the data that you have in the tables already or insert the data. So, I'm just going to jump right into it and talk about it as I go along here. And some of the commands that I'm using that you've probably never seen before. So the first thing I do is I'm going to drop and create this table called persons. It's a table called persons, person ID, into not null auto increment. Auto increment basically means it's going to auto number the columns. That column, so shouldn't have to put a value in there if we do it the right way. Last name varchar not null. First name varchar 255 and can be null. Age integer can be null. And email varchar 255, and the primary key is going to be the person ID. So the first insert statement I'm going to do. So the anatomy of an insert statement is insert into, and the table you want to insert to, and then values, and the values that are going in here. I'll explain this here in a second. Okay. Right here I don't have anything. I just have insert into persons. So if I insert this, if I run this command, it's going to fail down here. It says column count doesn't match counted for 1. So what that's saying is I've got 1, 2, 3 columns going in, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns that are supposed to be here. Okay. Now, even though these are set to not null and auto increment, right? You still need, if you're putting in data like this, you have to designate all the columns. You got to have a value for every column in this value statement. So even here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I do that, and it'll fail. Okay. If I take this, okay, so I could take this, but I'm not going to do that right now. So if I take this, right, and I put this up here, and I put in person ID, right? So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I do this, and I insert it, it'll work, okay? So I always recommend to do the insert statement with the column names in the parentheses next to the table. That way you'll always know what columns are being inserted to. There's never confusion. And also remember, this code isn't written just for you. It's written for the customer. It's written for whoever asked you for it. It's also written for the people that are coming up behind you who may need to work on your code, after you've gone and found a better job. So down here, so just do one at a time, insert values. So now let's you got multiple values that you want to put in at the same time, okay? Insert into persons, last name, first name, age. I don't need to have, even though this is not null, I don't need to put this in the insert table because it's auto increment, it'll just grow from there, okay? We put the value 16 in there, so it's going to start at 16, so everything will be on 16. So here, if I've got a lot of values I need to put in, I can do insert into persons and put the column names there, then values, and then separate by a comma, put in a number of values. That way I'm writing one statement to put multiple things in, and this will work just fine. See, it puts 4 records in. So if I do select persons, they're all sitting there right now, okay? Now, what this thing here is, so this is a command. I just need to generate a random age. So what this is, floor is a command that takes a number that has a decimal and just gets rid of the decimal. So if I had, so here I did select floor, and in parentheses I put 25.65, and I ran this select statement, it just returns 25. If I change this to round, okay, it's going to return 26. Okay, so floor just gets rid of the decimal, and round brings it back up. So what's this random command here? So random generates numbers. So let me show you what this looks like when nothing is there and just select random. Okay, I do that. And what it does, it selects a random number that's 20, this number here past the decimal. So I chose 25 places past the decimal. I was just being silly. I just grabbed that number. Okay, so this gives me a number that's 25 places past the decimal. Okay, so if I did this here and went floor, and random, okay, this is always going to give me 0 because it's 25 places past decimal. That's why I've got this times 50 next to it here, right? So if I do times 50, okay, this is going to give me a pretty fun number, just like, you know, okay. And then I add 10 to it, and then it brings it up. So that's all it's doing here. So as you notice, when I run the selects from persons here, everyone's should be in a different age here. So I'm going to run this here. We're going to run those. So now, okay. So next thing I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to do this. I got the select query here, right? I run this. It gives me all these different ages and all these different, and it's pulling all the names out of the actor table with all these random numbers here for age. So if I right here insert into persons and give 3 columns, I can just use the select query to input into the table, and look, 200 rows are put in the table, and there you go. Now I've got all these different things here in the table. Okay. So when you're doing select queries, you can either do just, I always say when doing insert queries, you can either do one value at a time, as long as your columns match the columns are supposed to go into. Again, always do this. It might seem waste of time. It might seem too much work, but trust me, this is the way you want to do it because it'll make your life a lot easier as a coder. Okay. So you can do insert into the table and then just have the values line up here. You do insert into the table and then have multiple values lined up like this. So values and in parentheses, the first set, second set, so on and so forth. Or you can write a select query and dump everything to a table that way. Okay. And again, here's what everything looks like. Okay. So now, what's about updates? Update changes the data that's there. It's actually insert and it's a delete and an insert. It deletes what's there and inserts what needs to be there. So here we've got this column email that we haven't touched yet. So I'm going to update persons. I'm going to set email equal to the concatenation, which means I'm going to combine strings of the first 4 characters in the first name. Take a substring first name, start of the first character and move out 4. An underbar, the substring of first and last name, start the first character and go back 4. And a deliberate misspelling of Gmail, so gmail.com. Now, whenever you're writing these queries, if you don't have a where clause set here, it affects everything. So when I do this, it's going to affect all 205 rows that are in this table. So I just need to be aware of that, okay? So I'm going to run this. So I'm just going to update it. No bells, whistles, just doing it. Just update, boom. And now if I look at persons, everyone has an email address, okay? But it's spelled wrong. It's Gmail. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to update persons, set email. I'm going to use the replace command. And what the replace command does, it says, give me what you're looking at. This is the value that's there. And this is what I want to change it to. It's just like find and replace in Word. Okay. So this is the same thing here. Boom. And now, if I look at persons, okay, everything's the correct. Okay, so I stepped away for a quick second to add something to here because I forgot to add it. So again, I can update persons, I can set the email, and I can replace something that's there. I can do anything I want, any command that I want. I can change prices, change ages, whatever. I just have to put that's there. But again, here I have no restraints. This is going to affect everything. So if I go here and run this again, it's going to change everything back to the way it was, because there's no, I'm not putting any buffers in there. Okay, so I want to put buffers there if I need to. And the buffer is this. So look at this way. So here's my buffer. Update persons. So this is going to do a little differently. So I'm going to do an update, but I'm going to use an inner join. Okay. So in update persons, I'm going to inner join the customer table, and where the last name in the person's table matches the last name in the customer table, I'm going to change the age to 9999. Okay. It's nothing to really do, but just demonstrates the principle of what we're trying to do here, right? But I added two commands here. I had the start transaction. I kind of talked about this in the notes at the beginning of the week. If I'm running changes and I want to make sure they're right before anything happens, okay? I want to do this. I want to make sure the query works. I'm going to do this thing called start transaction, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the query, and I have one of two commands. I'm going to have rollback, or I'm going to have commit. So if I run this, right, I get 48 rows affected, 48 rows changed, but then I get rollback, 0 rows affected, because I said, see if this works, right? And then if it doesn't error out, just roll it back. I'll get an error, it'll tell me something wrong, but roll it back, don't make it permanent. I want to make sure everything's fine. Okay, so let me be more specific here. So let's do this. I'm just gonna run this part. So I'm gonna run this here. I'm gonna select the persons, right? And it's gonna show me. Okay. Okay. So I was messing around. Just wait for a second again. So let me jump back here and just do this and get back into where I was before. So just do this here. Yep. Okay. And then let me do this. Run these two here. Okay. And so now I'm back where I was. Right. So I'm going to run this. And now, if I look here, I say update persons. Oops. Wrong. Select persons here. I've got all the people with the 9999s. If I hit rollback at this point, it took everything back. Okay, so I can leave that transaction open. Now, the danger of leaving the transaction open, right, is that no other changes can be made to this table until that transaction is closed. A transaction locks the table. I'm not going to demo that here, but so I can run this, make sure everything looks right, then I can roll it back, or I can do commit, which then, so if I run this, I start the transaction, I look, I like the way everything looks, and I can go here and hit commit. And then now that is permanent. That change is now permanent. Okay, so they're gonna be there forever, or until I drop the table again. Okay. That transaction command will save your fat from the fryer more often than not. You want to make sure that that is, if you're making any changes, particularly we're gonna talk about deletes now, you want to make sure that you're doing transaction runs deletes, because if you run this command delete from persons, it's just gonna delete everything. I'm gonna show you that in a second. Okay. So you want that wrapped in a transaction to prevent it from deleting everything. So been through insert commands, we've been through update commands, so we can update an inner join. So let's talk about the delete commands. Delete command, delete from persons where last name is like F, boom, 2 are gone. We've deleted 2 names, okay? I can also use an inner join on a delete. I can delete from persons, inner joining customer where person's last name and customer last name is the same. If I do that, I've lost 47 rows, okay? I go here, you won't see them, they'll be gone. But you know, so now I have a row count of 155 rows returned. I want you to notice something here. When I run these deletes, I'm gonna do where last name is W. Okay. When I run these deletes, it tells me how many rows were deleted. Okay. I'm gonna go back here and get rid of this one here real quick and just run these here. Okay. If I accidentally do delete from persons, it deletes 205 rows and tells me how many rows were deleted. And if I go here and select, there's no rows brought back. So that's why it's important to use that transaction command to keep that from happening. Let me insert back into these tables here and show you one other thing, and then we're gonna put a pin in it for tonight. So down here, I've got this one command called truncate table. Now remember, when I just deleted this like this, it showed me how many rows were affected. And if I go to if I go here, I now have 181 instead of 205. I'm going to run this truncate persons. It says 0 is affected. But if I go back up here to select start from persons, there's nothing in there anymore. Because truncate just flushes the table and doesn't care how many rows are in there. It just goes, I'm getting rid of everything. You don't get to know anything. Okay. So only use that under extreme circumstances or when if you know the table is bad, and you gotta get rid of the data in it. Okay. So couple takeaways we talked from tonight: insert, update, delete. Okay, those commands. Here's the examples for here. And a couple. Oh, I forgot to mention here. Lower is a pretty simple command. Lower, just everything in that string is now a lowercase. It has a version called upper that does the same thing. Okay. Floor gets rid of the decimal. Random gives you a random number. That's the decimal 25. Whatever this number is past the decimal point, this multiplies by 50, and this just adds 10. Okay, that just gives me a random. I think it's between 1 and 113 or something like that. Okay. So floor, rand, lower. These aren't commands that were in the lesson, so these are like little bonus commands. Replace is a value that's in there. So replace the string that you want to replace something in, the string you want to replace, and what you want to replace it with. Up here, we've got substring. Substring requires the string, the starting position, and how many characters you want to go in. Substring first name, so it's the first 4 characters of last name, first 4 characters of first name, adding to Gmail, and that's the third one. The concatenation command that takes all the strings and puts them together. And then transactions. Start transaction, and then either roll back or commit. Okay. Next week, I will talk more about the projects. I will give you more examples. Now that I want you guys to marinate on these for a couple days before I start going into writing the queries for the tables I made the other day. So you guys can start seeing how this all flows. Please if you have any questions on this, please, again, always submit the questions to me, either text me or do it in comments, and I will answer them. And that's it for this week, and hope you have a good week, and bye-bye.